Welcome back to the Tomei Show, for the second episode of the Tomei Show. So glad you could join us. We have an amazing show for you today with some really special guests. My father, another Mr. Tomei, will be joining us today. He knows a thing or two about teaching. He was a math teacher for 37 years, so I can't wait to speak with him. Then we have your lesson of the day, an amazing lesson. You're bound to learn something. And of course, they'll be dancing at the end. But before we get to that, though, I want to take this opportunity to tell you what an amazing job you've done with distance learning. This has been a challenge for all, teachers included, so you should really feel proud of yourselves with how well you've done. With that said, let's get the show kicked off with your math fact of the day. Do you feel bored most of the day? Do you feel like you don't have any energy? Then make cookies! Making cookies is the new pastime for people who like to make cookies. Cookies. It's what's for dessert. Paid for by the People Who Like to Make Cookies Foundation. Welcome back. Up next, we have an interview with my father. He was a math teacher for 37 years, so let's see what he has to say. I'm going to be interviewing him through Google Meet. Welcome, Mr. Tomei.
Yes, Mr. Tomei.
Let's start off with the elephant in the room. You are wearing a Yankees sweatshirt.
That's right.
So this is going to be odd for some of my students because they know me as a Red Sox fan and a Boston fan. So you're a Yankee fan.
Well, actually, I remember you being a Yankee fan.
Uh-oh.
I have your Little League baseball picture on a baseball card, and it said favorite team, New York Yankees.
Oh, boy. How long ago was that?
I don't know, maybe about 50 years ago.
Then I smartened up, huh?
50 years ago, did you get that?
50 years ago. No, it's not 50 years ago. I missed that. My math was slow.
Okay.
So welcome. So I want to take this opportunity. This is a Tomei and Tomei interview. So you taught math for a very long time. I'm teaching math, and the students who are watching this are learning math from me. So you're getting the grandparent of math, so to speak, everybody. So first off, how long did you teach for?
I taught in one town, Barrington, Rhode Island, for 37 years. 11 years in the junior high and 26 years in the high school.
Wow. And so you started in the junior high for 11 years. Wow. And so what was what made you decide to teach math?
Well, it's sort of happenstance. It was when I graduated from college, I was certified in physics, mathematics, and German. And I actually took 4 years of German, and I thought I would like to teach German. So there was an opening in the town of Barrington, and I went in there for an interview. And the superintendent, asked me all sorts of questions. And I turned around and asked him a question if it would be possible for me to sit in on an actual class, because, I wanted to see what was going on. And after sitting in class, I realized that I'd be doing the students and the school system an injustice because of my inexperience. I went back and I told the superintendent that's how I felt. And I think he appreciated my honesty, because in about a week or so, he called me back and asked me if I would be interested in a mathematics job at the junior high school. And that's how it turned out.
That's fantastic. I did not know that. So what was your favorite part about teaching math?
I think in general, as if you're a teacher with any subject, I think the favorite part of teachers would be like their interaction with the students.
Mhm.
You know, I enjoyed the interaction I had with my students, and I think it was conversely.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the best time we have in class is when we got kind of go off script and are able to connect and build a rapport. I totally agree. So I mean, with that, I think my students would agree that I try to make learning fun in class, and I try to, get their engagement and make them want to come to class. So what did you do to make learning fun or make math fun?
Well, I think that's an assumption on your part. I hope I did. I just tried to have a relaxed atmosphere in class. And I try to, I understand you're doing basically the same, tell some jokes, have the kids relax. Not some kids come in and they fear mathematics for some reason. And I just felt that, take it easy, relax, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And it seemed to work for me.
Right. And I remember growing up always when walking through the malls or Providence College games and students of yours and former students coming up and yelling across the way, "Hey, Mr. Tomei!" And I always thought I would never do that to my teachers. So you must be doing something right. So the assumption, that's where the assumption came from, that you were making math fun.
I still have contact with many of my former students, and one is a graduate of Providence College, and he keeps me informed with all the basketball, what's going on with basketball. My neighbor across the street is a former student of mine.
His wife too?
His wife also. And so, yes, that's true. It's nice having the students come back to you.
Yeah, I agree. Do you miss it at all? Do you miss teaching?
Well, let me put it this way. I love retirement.
That's great. All right. So what memories do you have from the classroom? Any memories that stand out to you?
Well, actually, two do. My first year of teaching, it's 1963. I'm doing a class, and the principal comes over the intercom, and he makes the announcement that President John Kennedy has just been shot.
Oh, wow.
And you could feel the tension in the air. And a little while later, he came back and he says he's, very sorry to report that the president has died. And I still remember that vividly.
Wow.
So that's a memory. Another one of my former students in her college application essay wrote about me. And what she did was she presented me a copy of that, a framed copy of her essay. And that stands out to me, though.
That's fantastic. That's really nice. So do you have any advice for my students in regards to math?
Well, actually, I do. And you probably have told this to your own class. The first thing in doing math is be neat in your work. A lot of mistakes are made because you can't go back and actually read what you put down. Second, I would say don't skip any steps. Discipline yourself to go through step by step. And always, if there are formulas involved, always write the formula down. Even if you think you know it, write it down, because that's the only way that you get it planted in your mind what it is. Like my granddaughter who's in high school, she's doing the quadratic formula. And I started asking her this last year, 2 years ago, remember this formula. And now she knows it perfectly. So those are the three things I think you should be conscious of.
That's great. That's great. Great advice. And lastly, I know, well, I'll let my students know that you are a magician by hobby, and you have performed in several different places in public. So I'm wondering, is it possible to get a magic trick on Google Meet here?
Well, funny you would ask. Just so happen to have a deck of cards right here. See? You see them? And I'm going to just.
I do.
I'm going to just take one card. What's that? Jack of clubs right here?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
All right. And I have this little gadget here. Can you see that? And
I can.
got this, and you can see the Jack of clubs there. And I'm going to put the Jack of clubs in here. like this, and put my fingers through these holes. You can see the holes. I'm going to slide this jack of clubs over to the left. See, I can.
Yeah.
And there's the back of it. All
Sure.
right? And now, of course, if I say the magic words and all, I can just move the middle over here. So like it's a zigzag card. You can put my finger right through there.
What?
Like this. Finger.
How in the world?
Yes. Now, people always ask me, can I cut them in half? And I said, sure, I can cut you in half. That's easy. The difficult part is putting you back together again. Let's see if I can put this card back together again. So let's see. I make the pass again, get it whole, and then
Sure.
I just move it over a little bit like this and put my fingers in here like that. Can you see?
Yeah.
And slide it over like this and say, come on out there, you little baby. And there it is.
Wow.
Oh, that's my magic.
Well done. Well done. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Tomei Show. It is now, I guess, the Tomei and Tomei Show. So I greatly appreciate that, Dad. And that's it.
All right, thank you for having me. Good luck to your kids. And I mean that, seriously. Good luck to your kids.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Now, finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, your lesson of the day.
Tell whether the blue figure is a 180 degrees clockwise rotation of the red figure. First, let's define rotation. A rotation or turn is a transformation in which a figure is rotated about a point called the center of rotation. In our examples, we have a black dot as the center of rotation. Also, we are given 180 degrees clockwise, which is our angle of rotation. So we know that a circle is 360 degrees. So when we have 180 degrees, that's a half circle. So we will rotate around the center of rotation 180 degrees. So go ahead and rotate the red figure to see if it fits the blue figure. When you rotate the red, you can see that the red and blue overlap. So that means that the blue figure is a 180 degrees clockwise rotation of the red figure. So now let's look at part B. Again, we will rotate the red figure 180 degrees clockwise to see if it matches the blue figure. So go ahead and rotate the red figure. After you rotate, you see that the red and the blue figures do not match. So that means that this is not a 180 degrees clockwise rotation of the red figure. So to review, we need to recognize the angle of rotation and then rotate or turn our figure around the center of rotation. We found that in part A, the rotation is a 180 degrees clockwise rotation, and in part B, they did not match, so it is not a 180 degrees clockwise rotation. The vertices of a trapezoid are A12, B44, C46, and D16. Rotate the trapezoid 270 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. What are the coordinates of the image? First, we need to create our trapezoid. To do this, we will use a coordinate plane. Next, we need to label the axes. Make sure that the trapezoid will be able to fit on our coordinate plane. So we will scale the x and y axes by increments of 2. Now that the axes are labeled, we're ready to graph the vertices of the trapezoid. We have A at 1, 2, B at 4, 4, C at 4, 6, and D at 1, 6. Now that we have the 4 vertices, we can connect them to create the trapezoid. Now that we have our starting trapezoid, we need to rotate the trapezoid 270 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. The 270 degrees counterclockwise is our angle of rotation. And since it is about the origin, that is our center of rotation. Remember, 270 degrees is actually 3 turns of 90 degrees counterclockwise. So we will break it up into 3 rotations of 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. So what you can do is take your paper and turn it 90 degrees counterclockwise. This will give you the trapezoid in the second quadrant. Now we will take our rotated image and rotate that another 90 degrees counterclockwise. So turn your paper again 90 degrees counterclockwise. Now the trapezoid is in the third quadrant. We have one more rotation of 90 degrees counterclockwise to get to 270 degrees. So finally, rotate your paper one more turn counterclockwise of 90 degrees. Our image is now in the fourth quadrant and has been rotated 270 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. So we need to find the coordinates of this image. Make sure to label the vertices properly. We have A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime. A prime and D prime should make up the longer base of the trapezoid, and B prime and C prime are the shorter base of the trapezoid. So now we're ready to write the coordinates of the image. We'll start with vertex A prime, and its coordinates are 2, -1. Then we have B prime with the coordinates 4, -4. C prime has coordinates 6, -4. And D prime has the coordinates 6, -1. The vertices of a triangle are A, -4, 1, B, -1, 6, and C, -1, 1. Rotate the triangle 90 degrees clockwise about vertex C. What are the coordinates of the image? First, we need to graph the triangle on a coordinate plane. Next, we need to label the axes so that the triangle will fit on our graph. We will use increments of 2 on the x-axis and the y-axis. Now that we have the axes labeled, we're ready to graph the vertices. Let's start with A, -4, 1. The x value is -4 and the y value is 1. For B, -1, 6, we have an x value of -1 and a y value of 6. And vertex C is -1, 1, with -1 as the x value and 1 is the y value. Now that we have the 3 axes, we can connect these points to draw the triangle. Now we're ready to rotate the triangle. Our problem says rotate the triangle 90 degrees clockwise about vertex C. So 90 degrees clockwise is our angle of rotation. And since it says about vertex C, that means that vertex C is our center of rotation. That means C will not change after the rotation. So that vertex will be C prime in our image. Now let's rotate the other vertices. Let's start with A. Vertex A needs to rotate 90 degrees. And notice, in its original position, it is 1.5 units away from C. So in the image, it is still 1.5 units away from C. And this point will be A prime. Double check to make sure that we rotated the point so that side A prime, C prime is 90 degrees from the side AC. Now let's rotate vertex B. Again, we need to go 90 degrees clockwise, and B is 2.5 units away from C. So B prime will be 2.5 units away from C prime. Again, double check to make sure that the side B prime, C prime is at a right angle with the original side BC. Now that we have all three vertices of our image, we can connect them to make our triangle. The rotation should look like this. Now that we have the image, let's write the coordinates. We'll start with A prime, and it is at an x value of -1 and the y value 4. So A prime is -1, 4. Then we have B prime, which is at an x value of 4 and a y value of 1. So B prime is 4, 1. And finally, C prime is at -1, 1.
The vertices of a rectangle are A -1, 1, B -4, 1, C -4, 5, and D -1, 5. Rotate the rectangle 90 degrees clockwise about the origin, and then reflect it in the y-axis. What are the coordinates of the image? First, draw a rectangle ABCD. Then rotate it 90 degrees clockwise about the origin to obtain rectangle A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. Finally, reflect the rotated figure in the y-axis to obtain rectangle A double prime, B double prime, C double prime, D double prime. The coordinates of the image are A double prime -1, 1, B double prime -1, 4, C double prime -5, 4, and D double prime -5, 1. The red figure is congruent to the blue figure. Describe a sequence of transformations in which the blue figure is the image of the red figure. You can turn the red figure 90 degrees so that it has the same orientation as the blue figure. So begin with a rotation of 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. After rotating, you need to slide the figure to the left. So translate the figure 4 units left to obtain the image. So, one possible sequence of transformations is a 90 degrees clockwise rotation about the origin, followed by a translation 4 units left.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, be calm, be brave, everything will be okay.
Let